More than any other tragedy in our history, the massacre at Glencoe seems to grip the imagination of folks in Scotland and throughout the world. But have you ever stopped to wonder what happened to the McDonald's that were left when the killing was over? If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. Give me some feedback in the comment section, a thumbs up below, and share with others like you. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. In autumn 2024, the events that took place in this valley ring out just as loud as the gunshots of the 13th of February 1692. For many of us, the pierce of Bayonet Point punctures the beauty of the valley even today. And yet for many of the tourists who flock this glen, the wound, long healed, goes unnoticed. The hundreds who pass this way for a brief photograph each day dwarfs the 38 dead McDonald's who lay on the valley floor 330 years ago. No McDonald's attached to this land now, just passers by skimming over. Which leads us to a question. And today, I'm taking you to the Bothy Bar in Glencoe's famous Clachagin to ask it. After the massacre of Glencoe, what happened to the McDonald's? Amongst the 38 that we know were killed on that fateful night, the clan chief, Alistair MacIan, who had taken the royal oath of allegiance on behalf of his people and had assurances that had been received, was killed at his bedside. MacDonald of Inverriggan, his tacksman and kinsman, was also killed by his house guest, Campbell of Glenlyon himself. The letter of protection from the governor of Fort William made no difference. MacDonald of Uchtreichton, further up the glen, died that night too, despite similar promises of protection. But the truth is that irrespective of government intentions, most of the McDonald's of Glencoe fled to the hills and survived as their homes burned below. And the government troops stripped the glen of cattle and anything else of value. Of course, these men weren't stealing. They had the king's authority. Unsure of whether winter in the mountains or government troops would finish the job, the folks at Glencoe got a wee bit of help from the Stuarts of Appin. But for the most part, they avoided the bayonet by facing hunger and cold. Neighbouring clans were afraid to offer aid in case the death sentence was contagious. Ignored by other MacDonald septs close at hand, out in North Uist, Archibald MacDonald of Grimmish, in an audacious act of compassion, did send a boat across the stormy Minch and up Loch Linnhe to leave some meal on the shores of Appin. But those who were a pariah that winter became a magnet in the spring for anyone who was outside the law and looking for a place to call home. Maybe they saw John MacDonald as a latter-day William Wallace or Robin Hood. But the rock of Beedham na Mbean is a far cry from Sherwood or Ettrick Forest. The MacDonalds were doing their best to live peaceably and show their good behaviour in the hope of coming back down to their glen. Did it work? Let me interrupt to tell you that in 2025, I'll be touring a new live show called Scotland Made the World. There'll be more laughs than in this story, starting with a couple of shows in Edinburgh and Glasgow on the 19th of January, then on to Perth, Australia, Adelaide, Melbourne, Hobart, Canberra, Sydney, Brisbane, Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. Then back to Scotland and on to Canada in 2026. Ticket links will be coming soon, on www.brucefumi.co.uk, which you'll find by clicking top right or in the description below. I'll see you there. On the 12th of April 1692, the story of what had gone on in this glen broke publicly in a French newspaper read in British streets. Shortly after that, an instruction came to the commander at Fort William to seize the Glencoe survivors so that they could be transplanted. The policy of extermination had moderated to ethnic cleansing. Colonel Hill, the Fort William commander, and possibly the only guy that comes out of this whole affair with any sort of credit, asked for leniency. After all, the Glengarry and Clanranald MacDonalds had taken their oath to King William long after Magean of Glencoe, and they were getting remissions. And yet Glencoe MacDonalds would only be spared on condition that they went abroad to the plantations in Ireland, or worse still, the plantations across the Atlantic. But there would be no return to Glencoe. When you belong to the land, when your name is your postcode and you're a MacDonald of Glencoe, transportation and death must seem indistinguishable. The MacDonalds lived in the high grounds all summer, and they did what they could to prove to the government that they wanted peace, if only they might return to their glen. John MacDonald sent away the broken men who'd come to him in the spring. Colonel Hill continued to plead on behalf of the people who, under his promise of protection, had been slaughtered in the night. But the vindictive, inhuman policy continued throughout the summer. Until August, he received word that King William would allow the Glencoe men to return to the valley once John MacDonald, the now clan chief, made his way to Inveraray to submit and swear before the Campbell Sheriff of Argyll, just like his father had done before him. John MacDonald wrote to Colonel Hill, "I will most cordially embrace and will betake myself to live under His Majesty's royal protection in such a manner that the government shall not repent or give cause to blush for the favour that you have done to me and my people." On the 13th, 6 months after the massacre, they went back to their glen in August, no doubt taking each footstep with care and circumspection. They had to rebuild the houses that had been burned and a land that had been destroyed, where everything that they had been taken by cattle thieves and redcoats. As they tried to rebuild their lives, they were presented with the threat of more soldiers being quartered on them if they didn't pay £300 in outstanding tax to the government. Can you imagine the fear that it must have struck into men, women and children who'd seen how that had turned out only too recently? Eventually, the Privy Council discharged the Glencoe men from all arrears since the unhappy murder. They made a life again. Achtriachton, up the glen, had been home to around 50 people. Now, I told you at the start how the tacksman and leader of that township was murdered on that winter's night. The archaeological work done here in 2019 and shown to me by NTS archaeologist Derek Alexander tells us that Achtriachton was rebuilt after 1692. People returned to their lives in a valley of weeping. But 17 years later, when the standard was raised for the Jacobite cause at Braemar, they weren't so cowed as to doubt the cause for which they must fight. And at the Battle of Sheriffmuir, the MacDonalds of Glencoe and the Campbells of Glenlyon lined up together on the same side. John MacDonald whose father and kin had been murdered at Glencoe, stood alongside John Campbell of Glenlyon, whose father had led the murderers. The Glencoe men were out again for Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1745, led out by Alexander MacDonald, the 14th Laird of Glencoe, who'd been carried from the massacre as a babe in the arms of his nurse. Now, I don't need to tell you that these MacDonald men would be high in the list for the brutal government reprisals that came after that affair. Once more, their homes were burnt and their cattle taken. Of course, over and above their reputation, the MacDonalds of Glencoe faced the same pressures of displacement and emigration as all Highlanders in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Glencoe was still occupied in the mid-18th century, but by 1800 it was deserted. The most beautiful desert in the world, with its people dispersed, is now a theme park. I read that the last chief, Alexander James MacDonald, 19th of Glencoe, died in 1889, leaving the clan without a head. Then, in my research, I saw a petition to the Lord Lion in June 2023 seeking recognition as a chieftain by Alan Donald MacDonald of Glencoe, a retired banker born in Christchurch, New Zealand on the 5th of December 1951. He's a Kiwi, like his father and his father before him. Thomas MacDonald, born at Kilmallie in 1835, emigrated to the South Island of New Zealand, like so many from these shores. What happened to the MacDonalds of Glencoe? They're still there, dispersed across the far corners of the world, like other clans and peoples of Scotland, with all sorts of funny accents. There are some who hold blood ties or genealogy or hereditary title, but in truth, it's not DNA that holds people together. It's stories. It's words and language and tales and legends that preserve the people of Scotland. And that's why we're here. This channel is full of stories of Scotland. You can go to the channel page and search through for the ones that interest you most. But if you'd like to know more about the events and aftermath of Glencoe, then the video that's coming up on screen is an absolute must. Support our storytelling by clicking top right to become a Patreon member or buy me a coffee in the description below. In the meantime, ha' mi an dóchas gún bí lá málaigh. Sherry and Rasta.